Relatively short video. I hope you all have a great holiday and take the time to put something bad inside your body. I did something in my ongoing Dusk campaign that I had never done before, and it worked pretty well, and I thought I would share this with you because it was pretty radical for me. I've always wanted, as a player and a DM, my role-playing to be authentic to the character, and my process is simple. First, know the character really well. What motivates them? What do they want? And their personality, how they express themselves. If I know these two things, then in the moment when something unexpected happens, I can improvise a response, and it will feel real, authentic. Spontaneous the way real conversations in the real world happen. It is not necessarily performative, it's not funny, it's not particularly entertaining, but those aren't my goals. My goal is authenticity. But it's a very weird way of going about things, and I dare say very few people I play with think this way. So it's not unusual when I put a player on the spot, meaning something happens where I turn to that player and expect them to respond spontaneously and in character, but also authentically. It's not unusual for the player to panic, maybe feel a little annoyed that suddenly they're expected to come up with something, maybe feel afraid of looking like an idiot. So they punt. Basically, they tell the NPC to go screw, or they make a dick joke, or otherwise do something to get themselves off the hook. Now, if you've only ever known D&D as like a hobby for drama geeks, this will seem very strange to you. For the theater nerds, the spotlight is greatly desired. It's an opportunity to show off, act out. Who wouldn't want the spotlight? The chance to role play. Isn't that why we're all here? Well, as I've said before, role-playing means different things to different people, and to me, role-playing is making decisions about what my character would do when those decisions are different from what I would do. And in this paradigm, suddenly being put on the spot and expected to reply in character can be hugely intimidating. And if you don't believe me, I encourage you to check out the comments where you will find lots of people saying, "Yep, that's me." And me, personally, I've never trusted that acting out impulse. Big difference between acting and acting out, between playing a character and seeking attention. So I'm running Dusk, my 4th edition game I'm running as a break from the Chain of Acheron, and I realize one of the players has a pretty cool character, but whenever I prompt them for a role-playing moment, they respond in a manner that seems out of character. And I realize the player doesn't like being put on the spot. Their character is 3-dimensional, but they don't like the spotlight arriving without warning. They freak out and they say something dismissive, like, "How do I, the player, get the spotlight off of me?" So I took a chance. I did something I have never done before. The day before we played, I said, "An NPC is going to come up to you tomorrow and ask you, 'Why are you helping us?'" That's it. I didn't say who, I didn't say anything else about the conversation, even though I knew this NPC had a lot to say, had a point to make. I just gave the player a prompt and let them think about it. Now, we did a whole video a while ago about conspiring with a player, meaning pulling a player aside and concocting a moment where they have some expected role to fill to help create drama. And the canonical example of this to me is Tom Schmuck with the Omega Nails storyline. But this is very different. I wasn't trying to concoct a dramatic moment. I was trying to create a space where something surprising could happen. You know, Omega Nails' storyline had an arc, and that meant Tom had to play his part in order for it to work. Nails became a threat. Tom was basically acting like a little DM in those scenes. This is wildly different. I just wanted the player to feel comfortable role-playing, and I intuited that if they knew what was coming in only the broadest terms, no details, they would shine. And I was right. The moment came, the player was ready. They role-played well. We saw their personality, their attitude toward the humans come out. You know, we're playing over fantasy grounds, so I can't see them. I can only hear them. So maybe the player wrote out their response ahead of time. I don't care. By the time you read one of my novels, I have heavily revised them. First drafts are awful. And a little speech is no big deal because it stimulated an entire conversation between these two characters. And in that conversation, all the responses from both me and the player were improvised and pretty authentic, I thought. I got what I wanted. I wanted an interlude between these two characters where we learn how this PC feels about these humans, these aliens they're responsible for. And the player got what they wanted, the opportunity to roleplay without feeling suddenly on the spot. It was just a moment between two people, and because I telegraphed it, it didn't feel like the Eye of Sauron was suddenly on the player. After the session, the player messaged me privately and said, "I thought that went great." They were telling me, "Hey, I liked that. I liked getting fair warning." Maybe someday that player won't need fair warning. I think that's likely. But having this stepping stone, this comfortable space between the Eye of Sauron and natural, spontaneous role-playing made a huge difference. So that's my advice. I tried it once. It worked great. I will absolutely do it again. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope you're having a great break. If you like this video and you want to support the channel, head over to our Patreon, where $10 a month gets you Arcadia. Every month you get a new 5th edition PDF magazine, which means if you pledge now, your $10 gets you over 300 pages of back issues with new player options, monsters, optional rules, and adventures for 5th edition. It's a steal. This month, Arcadia 11. You get 4 new angelic ancestries for players who like the idea of being descended from a god or an angel or some kind of power. This is pretty high fantasy, but if that's your jam, this is the juice. A great article from Justice Arman called "Good Fences Make Good Neighbors." I've said this before, Justice. He who would pun would pick a pocket. It's a pun because the article is all about selling all the loot you can't use, i.e. fencing it. Super cool idea. Great article. Has a heat mechanic, meaning like the cops.
Don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner.
And there's different levels of heat. I love this. Definitely want to use this in the chain. Last, we had a killer article last month with rules for harvesting monster organs and using them as exotic spell components. This month, what if we just cooked it and ate it? An article with actual real recipes like 1 part flour, 1 part lard, 1 part basilisk meat. I would love playing a character who cooks for everyone, or being in a party with a PC who's a cook and have the meals have different difficulties and different benefits. Killer issue. Arcadia gets better and better. Thanks for watching, everyone. Next video, another game you might like. Until then, peace out. Wait, sorry, I apologize. But when I recorded running the game number 100, I went back over my old videos to see if there were any videos that needed a footnote, and I forgot one. I did a video on the West Marches, which is a style of play, and in it I talked about how the West Marches is good if you've got a few people who like to DM and a lot of players, like 20. Great for a college dorm, for instance. And people loved that idea so much, they went out and did it, and then everyone decided that the West Marches meant playing D&D with multiple DMs and dozens of players. Which is absolutely not what the West Marches is about. It's about your players driving the action instead of you. The players deciding what quest they want to go on, which players will go on that quest, and what day and time of the week they'll all be around. That's it. West Marches games are an antidote to that. My players just show up because it's game night and they expect me, the DM, to do all the work. Well, you don't have to put up with that. You can just say, we're not going to play again until y'all tell me what you want to do, who's around, and when you want to play. Go back and watch that video with this in mind, and I think it'll make more sense. Okay, peace out.